likes machine guns.
I like machine guns. We have all Dead Air employees.
Wow.
Once again. We've had that a couple times, haven't we?
And one specific one, our chief engineer.
Todd Magee.
Every once in a while, they let me out of the salt mine.
We have a new can. We're going to talk about it. First, maybe more importantly than a new can launch, we have, shut up, Silver Falls purified water.
New water sponsor.
If you're on YouTube, you'll get a shot at that fancy label. They can say what they want, but that's just Kroger water with a different brand. I got it at a fine discount outlet.
100%
You
satisfaction or your money back. Huh.
Here's your 5 cents. Now go about your business.
I'm going to try this out.
I will say it isn't BPA. Oh, it is BPA free. Never mind.
It's quality water, bro.
Silver Falls.
Maybe Arrowhead or Smart Water will come back.
I don't know. I kind of like these sponsors.
We'll see.
We'll see.
We'll take it as it comes.
Yeah. So
let's talk about Todd's new can.
Well, before we want to do that, should we? I mean, I know.
Should we talk about Todd?
Let's talk about Todd because we've had a lot of requests to have Todd on, and we're now fulfilling those requests.
Think of this as a stage for one Todd Magee.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and I guess we're going to have you wait to hear about the can till the end, so you have to hear about me, right?
You can do it however you want. People can fast forward or whatever.
Right on. Cool.
It's true.
You can't make them listen.
Where did Todd begin? Pre-silencer, and then first job within the industry. You guys had a happy marriage at the beginning. You guys go way back.
Yeah, we kind of do now, don't we?
Well, a little bit. There's some history there.
Yeah. Well, let's see. So, going way back, I originally wanted to be an artist, actually. Probably.
Rich as well.
Like a painter?
Yeah, I wanted to do something with art, but I like food with my meals, and I'm not that good. So I decided to tap into my engineering and technical side. So I got an engineering degree. I worked from electronics, like Iomega Corporation. Do you remember the zip drive?
Yes.
Like that's going way back. Mike loved his zip drive, I know. But
hold on. I'm not really sure what that is. I've seen the word, but
it was a computer drive. Anyway, it was a long time ago. So I got to work on some of the development teams of that, and then I went into medical and did everything from, like, if you've had an IV, I've probably done something with that. Like if it's one of the high end ones, because I got to work on the high end products, and so really minor little, from design details to manufacturability to the process side. And I've always been in that role where my background is manufacturing engineering, but I've always been in this role of being part R&D, product development, part manufacturing. So I've straddled both. And so it's kind of that situation where I'm pretty good at seeing this is what it takes to design a product, and this is what it takes to get it manufactured.
I just had an IV.
Yeah, nice.
This
No, you had a blood draw. That's a
well, that's right. You're right. That's different.
If you're lucky, a push button blood collection device by BD Medical is, and I actually did a tiny bit of work on that because there was a process issue with it, and I worked on that production line very briefly to help with a few things.
Every time I get my blood drawn, I'm going to think of you now.
Yeah.
So your products aren't used at the plasma center down on State Street?
Not typically, because those are...
It's a little bit of a low-budget operation.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah.
And but some of the fancier IVs, I got to work on those, and those were really cool. From syringes, scalpels, IVs, peripherally inserted central catheters. Like, you go in here, but you end up pretty much in the heart. So
with a catheter?
Yeah. And then, so not that kind of catheter.
Sure. Like, obviously, that's where everyone heads go.
This kind of catheter, right?
So does it just like go up into your vein and around? And
yeah.
If you're not on YouTube, Todd just pointed to different parts of his body.
So yeah, and as well as central lines where you plug right in like subvena cava, stuff like that. And I'm not a doctor, not that much into like the exact anatomy of it all, but it was fun. Like, we're putting sensors in weird places and stuff like that. So
Look at Todd helping save lives.
Yeah.
it's cool. And I feel like I'm still in medical because I'm now into hearing protection. Let's put it that way.
There you go.
Hearing conservation.
You've made your living dealing with the human body
Kind of have. It's weird.
and equipment for it.
Yeah. So, kind of a caveat is we were joking about it earlier with the sound equipment, like the whole ASMR experience. Like I'm super sensitive to sound, and I have something called misophonia, which is like a hatred of sound is roughly what it translates to. But I have basically a processing disorder where I hear everything that goes on, and it's tough because, there's typically, air handling equipment. There are people talking across the room. There might be a teacher or, I don't know, just my wife talking to me. And my problem is I'm hearing everything and I have to choose what I want to listen to.
I have misophonia too then.
Yeah.
Because I choose not to listen to my wife a lot.
That's a great, you can now claim that. Like,
Yes.
What, baby? What?
No, don't worry. It's misophonia.
I was listening to
It's
the
thing.
kids. The best example is listening to chewing gum, right?
Yeah, you hate that.
I see red. Like I have a physiological response to that.
Yeah.
And, but I also feel like it's a little bit of a superpower because I can hear a lot of things that some people can't because it's not just physical. Like I can hear across a broad sound spectrum, but I'm just really good at picking up all like the nuances of sound. And, so the weird thing is that I feel like I didn't even do it consciously, but I love shooting. I love going out hunting. I didn't want to go hunting with a suppressor or without a suppressor. So, and walking around with earplugs in case you have to do a quick snapshot at like a coyote or a jackrabbit or whatever out in the desert. I decided I'm going to get a suppressor. And when I did, it was an OpSync 12th model when they very, very first came available to the public because just the military was using them at the time. And anyway, it was a fantastic experience. It was so cool, except that I hated how loud it was at the ear because of the AR-15 action was so loud. So I began playing with it and studying, how can I make the sound better, delaying the action opening and all that. And I feel like I ended up with a setup that was amazing. And so I figured out before I ever even got into the industry, you can make something hearing safe on an AR. Like I wouldn't shoot it all day long, but it was pretty incredible. Like it didn't burn my ears so much. And I've got super sensitive ears. Like dropping the bolt on an AR will ring my ears.
Really?
Yeah. So
You kind of are like an X-Men. Do you sleep light, like at night? Do you have to wear anything in your ears?
I wear earplugs when I go to bed. And when I do, it's like a sleeping pill. I'm out like in 30 seconds. It's pretty crazy. My wife is always mad at me perpetually.
I would be too.
She sits there seething at me, like looking at me in the dark.
And you're just out.
Yeah.
Sorry, honey.
Like a baby.
Be as mad as you want. I'm asleep.
I can't hear you, babe. So if I cut off that input, I can go out. But
I like the way you put that. Cut off that input. Such an engineering way of saying it.
Anyways, so the funny thing was, I'm like, oh man, I'm a manufacturing engineer, and I like to design stuff. So I decided to design a product. So I should have brought it today. That would have been a fun show and tell.
Dang.
I designed a sound suppressor, kind of collaborating with others online on the old silencer. What was it called? Silencer Talk Forum. And that was a lot of fun. And, I designed something that you could machine in just two different setups, basically. I think it ended up in two, where it was a monocore design. It was pretty simple, but it worked out really well, and it sounded good.
Rimfire.
Yeah, just a rimfire, sorry. And so Jonathan Schultz at Silencer Co., back before Silencer Co. actually anybody even knew about it, he saw the engraving on my suppressor when it was shown online, and it showed that I was in Utah. And so he called me up or contacted me and just said, hey, you know what, we're actually starting something. You might be interested. and seeing this. Nobody else really knows about it outside of close friends and family. And so I went and saw their operation, and, you know, he was curious if I'd like to help in any way, because it seemed like I kind of knew what I was doing just from making one suppressor. And he had a box of about 50 different cores sitting there next to a CNC machine. And his 50th one actually was one they were comfortable with going to market. So they had developed the first 22 Sparrow, the old aluminum one. And my suppressor matched his. So my 50th version matched that one pretty much in sound performance. So it was kind of fun. So we started collaborating at that point, and then I ended up investing in the company. And that was when I met Mike Pappas after a while. He wasn't always there when I was there. The funny thing is, we didn't really know each other that well, but we met. And he was super cool. Once we moved into a new facility there at Silencer Co., I was like, okay, we're going to value stream map the processes. We're going to lay all this out. We're going to make sure this is a real streamlined operation. Because everybody at Silencer Co., beside Mike being, you know, an incredibly technical and mechanical person, there were really no engineers yet. I think they were just hiring a family member that had gotten out of school at the time. And so I was kind of helping out with some of the real technical, nerdy questions, and then doing some design work on the side for like the Osprey and the next gen Sparrow.
Then you came full-time.
Yeah, then I came full-time. But I remember hanging out in Mike's office a lot because he was the only one cool enough to let me lay out like a giant piece of paper. And
we put it around, I think, 2 walls.
Yeah, we would map the
Taped
process.
it on there.
Yeah, we'd change Post-it notes around. Like, first you need to, you know, do this, you know, everything from order raw material to you know, machine parts and assembly and coatings and all that. And, you know, where does the signal come in for the ATF forms and purchasing and POs and invoicing and all that kind of stuff. So we did a pretty broad approach to the process to kind of help everybody see what was happening.
That's cool.
Yeah,
that was kind of my first experience or exposure to legitimate manufacturing as it would be set up if you want it to work. And even if you do that, it doesn't always work, but it works better.
Yeah.
Yeah, it works if you thoughtfully plan it out. So
That's awesome.
Yeah, then at that point, Silencer Co. Convinced me to come on full time, and I ran their operations for a while. It was a kind of a short period, but we just bought SWR at the time. And I forgot I was going to wear one of my old SWR T-shirts just for fun today. But
what's SWR stand for?
I swear I had like 3 or 4 different names.
Southwestern
Weapons Research, I think.
Yeah.
Or Southeastern Weapons Research.
That's right.
Yeah.
The original SWR.
Yeah, Joe Godini ran it, made incredible cans back then. They were super cool. And so he had already given up that company to a couple of basically friends at the time, because he went on to take care of Grip Pod and make a grundle of money doing that.
Yeah.
He was like, I can't be distracted by this little suppressor company. And so he handed it off because he wanted customers to be taken care of. So that was kind of cool of him. And so I was over the operation at the time when we ramped up SWR products there, which were basically redesigned by Henry at that point, and then helped a little bit with design work while I was there. The 22 Sparrow in the steel form, like everybody sees it now, is based on my second version, where we solved some problems with tumbling bullets by alternating baffles and things like that. Jonathan Schultz added all the final touches on it, made it look cool, and really in the end it's his product. Got to give him credit for that. And from there, I was one of the people. I was probably the first to be part of the horde that got, exited. Let's just put it that way.
The excommunication.
Yeah. So I think it was me, then Henry Graham, I think.
No, I got it. Next? I got it before Henry did. I think Henry was 6 or 10 months after me, something like that, maybe. I'm not sure. Yeah. There was a lot of revamping there for a while.
Yeah. So anyway, great experience though, but I was in a very corporate world, and I had mastered my job. Like, I knew how to deal with all the FDA stuff, how to get new products launched, all the internal processes where I worked The corporate world is very structured because you have a really big apple cart and you don't want to upset it. So you very slowly, methodically move that cart forward. And I was really, really good at that. But the other thing I think that I'm pretty good at is seeing what are those really important aspects of that and how do we streamline it for a little tiny company? You know, how are we controlling our drawings? How are we methodically developing product? How do we test it so that once we test it, you know, we're actually replicating what a customer's going to use so that, or going to do, and we get a good product out of it. You know, what does the customer really need? Are we satisfying that?
Then there's a lot of problem solving that goes along that process too. You know, there's issues sometimes that arise with manufacturing and
that's the biggest struggle for me is we made a decision up front based on literally the scar tissue provided by our time together at Silencer Co. that we don't want to be massively in debt. And so we decided that we were going to start a company where we were not running manufacturing machines in a shop and being distracted by that, but be able to focus on the development side. And if for whatever reason, market fluctuations, anything like that, we could adapt to it.
Pivot as needed.
Have some insulation to it.
Yeah.
I don't know if people really realize the amount of separation in design and manufacture as two complete different businesses, although I get they have to work hand in hand, but the manufacturing grind is its own daily issue.
Yep.
And the design side is the same way. It's just like marketing. You have to be able to work with all of those, but it is a complete separate unit.
I've learned a lot about specifically our process through all the data. Sometimes I will admit my artistic, creative brain, it's like drinking water through a fire hose because you're very informative. You know, a lot of it comes at me, but I've gleaned a lot of valuable information from the marketing side of things because we are very reliant on how things are going with your process, the manufacturing process, understanding timing and dates and all that good stuff. And it's been an awesome year learning about that process. And now it's even cooler hearing about how, you know, the scar tissues that were formed in previous, you know, roles has shaped the process today.
Yeah, I think so we got back to those fundamentals of we're not going to allow ourselves to be distracted by this. We're going to design something. We're going to let somebody else focus on that. And the tough part is if we were just running a shop, I know I could run it. I could kill it. It would be fantastic. It's literally what I went to school and what I did as a profession. It's so hard to hand that off, though. And so we really rely on manufacturing partners. And a lot of people don't know that about us, that, you know what, they're machine shops. We work really closely with them as best we can. We have a manufacturing partner where the final assembly occurs. And then, you know, but we take care of all the customers. And if there's an issue, we go right, you know, to manufacturing. We say, all right, we gotta get this squared away. We got to fix it. But and it's a difficult thing to do. Like, you know, if I had my choice, I'd be at the manufacturing facility every other week and spending time there. Yeah, pretty much. Because I'd be right there, like freaking out about, you know, if anything's not being made correctly. I'd be all about the quality side of it. So that's kind of a tough thing to hand off to somebody. And we've seen some ups and downs. You know, we've been at the whim of manufacturing partners where they're figuring stuff out. And the key thing is we've always fixed it, though. So that's one thing I want to make sure people know is that, you know, if there is an issue, we address it and take care of it.
That, and you know, this far into the game, we're in year 7, 8?
That's a good question.
7 or 8?
6, 7.
7. It's a good amount of time.
7 as well.
It's gone by to where I think you still stand firm and confident in the decision that was made early on about the manufacturing process. Because I think that's definitely a question from the consumer side that comes up a lot. You know, do you guys manufacture? You have like a plant inside your, you know, warehouse at the HQ and stuff.
Yeah, I think one thing that very few people really understand is how segmented manufacturing is. Like, it's not everybody is exactly vertically integrated, as they say. Like Silencer Co. kind of tried it. Like I remember in that first little garage bay that we were in, you know, there were a bunch of plastic. You remember these plastic containers sitting under a table in the eastern side of the room, where the plan was we're actually going to do anodization here in these containers. Like, you know, it was like a home workshop science fair project.
Some of that hurt bad.
Yeah.
Some of that, and there's good and bad with anything. And like you say, a person that has maybe not a lot of experience in it, their first thought is, oh, you don't manufacture, you're not really a manufacturer. And another person is like, oh, that's actually super smart. Yeah. It all has its ups and downs, and good and bad. It's just something that you have to navigate through, and you choose a path and then try to continue to hone that and fix the little problems along the way and make it better and better every year.
Well, I think what we were saying right now kind of sheds a lot of interesting light on that to kind of, I guess, quell the debate there.
Yeah. Like you could look at Porsche, for example. They're not, as far as I know, casting their own engine blocks. They're not always stamping their own fenders. But what they are doing is the final assembly. Mm-hmm. So they're bringing that in, and they're putting it together. And that's the portion that we decided that we weren't going to do, was that final assembly portion. Because for us, let's be honest, sometimes we're just stacking parts in a tube. You know, it's not that hard. But we've gotten more and more complicated. And that's where maybe someday we will bring some processes in-house as things get more complicated. But, you know, we're lucky right now to have a manufacturing partner that's really good at, you know, welding. So let the welders weld. You know, I'm actually not a good welder, so I'm kind of glad for that. And you look at other suppressor manufacturers, and very few are actually machining all their parts in-house. There's a reason why there are a lot of small machine shops around the country and big machine shops that can make these components that honestly are not that difficult to make by and large. We have some complicated structures, but yeah. So,
well, like with anything, making 100 is a lot different than making 100,000.
Yeah, excellent point. The scalability.
Does it fit together from the first 100 batch and the last 10,000 batch? That's the hard part.
Remember the first
a
octane
little
baffles?
shift as it goes.
Well, in simpler terms for me, I boil it down to this: like we make our own T-shirts. We come out with our own unique designs.
But we don't really make T-shirts. We don't spin yarn.
No, we don't do that.
We're not buying a silk screen.
We source the right people to do the job the way we want it, and then the final product comes to the customer, and a big smile is on their face. We're not a print shop, but it doesn't mean we don't make T-shirts.
I worked at Shirtworks when I was in high school, like silk screening and bathing myself in acetone. Yeah, I'm not doing that again.
That explains a lot, Todd.
Yeah, I'm just kidding. I had this third arm that grows.
I hear that's dangerous.
Yeah, I'm sure it explains a lot too.
So speeding up, there's the Exodus. We've got our process now 7 years into it, and we're in 2021, and we have a new can.
Yeah,
we have a new can we're launching later this month. I think this episode is going to air right after the official launch.
It'll be a little bit of a kind of a Terminator thing, kind of hard to follow the timeline.
Yeah.
Yep.
It's like we're talking in the future right now, but we're not.
Trippy.
This is Todd, Rich, and Mike from the past.
When you hear this, it will have been a couple weeks ago.
Yeah. Cool. Let's talk about this can.
Yeah. Oh, just so you know, Marcus, before I forget, make sure this doesn't air before the launch. Anyway, yeah, let's get into what's this can called?
All right, this can's called Primal, and it could be a noun, it could be an adjective. We're going to let you choose.
Yeah.
So the whole intent of this was actually a difficult thing for me because the request for this product has been out there for a long time.
Yeah.
And I think this is probably the 4th or 5th version of it that I've designed. And in the past, this was going to launch like 3 years ago. It was all titanium, and it was right when there's a giant spike in titanium prices, and we just decided it's not worth launching. We had other priorities at the time, so yeah, we moved on at that point.
Well, you could, I get what you're saying, but truth be told, we've had 5 different versions of a lot of things that for one reason or another have not come to market. There's always 2 or 3 things in the works. And how many things have we thought would be awesome and then got them to the range and been like, thanks, but no thanks.
Yeah, funny, right? It's always frustrating.
We're going to do this again.
Like, this is it. This is going to be amazing. And then I give it to Mike, and he's like, yeah, this kind of sucks.
That's what everyone thinks about their first marriage. You know?
Not me. My wife's going to watch this.
Well, you thought that about your first marriage?
Hey,
you thought it was going to be awesome, and it was, and it is.
We all have first wives.
Don't make
all 3
it.
of us.
I think we all have first wives and still have them.
Yeah, correct. I'm not. Look, I didn't mean that negative. I'm
Sure.
just saying that's what people think.
Yeah.
I love it when you introduce Mrs. Pappas as your first wife to people.
Yeah, and
That's
my
pretty
daughters also love it when I introduce them as the daughters from Sherry's first marriage. And then the people are always like, ladies will always look at me like, oh, you seem so natural with them. I didn't know. I'm like, well, I never said she'd been married twice. Those are her daughters from her first marriage, which she's still freaking happily in. Right now, today.
Yes.
Probably the happiest woman on earth in there.
And your daughters go along with it so well, too.
They have such a great sense of humor.
Well, they have to.
Yes. Yeah, there's no choice. Your mic's moving on you.
It is.
It's okay.
It's encroaching.
It loves you. All right, the Primal can.
All right, so Primal. So
This is round 5.
yeah, so we went through several versions. Some were more along the lines of the Nomad. Some were just completely off the wall designs. And the fun thing about this one was, you know, we'd done the work on Wolfman, and that, while it's a simple cone design, which I'd love to say like all of our designs are really unique, cool baffle designs, a cone with a clip in it is actually pretty basic nowadays. It's ubiquitous, and it's really easy to see what somebody else has done and just say, okay, well, if I take this cone and if I repeat it a whole bunch and I scoot them really close together, it's bound to work pretty well. And I mean, it's easy to bring a product to market like that. And
Yeah, if you scooch them all together, you're a lover of port noise, huh?
yeah, you are. So what you end up having is the best way to put it is I call it over optimized, because there's a point at which when baffles get really close together, they begin to not work well. And it's interesting, the performance just falls off super fast. Like you move it like 10 or 20 thousandths of an inch, like it's a really tiny amount closer, and all of a sudden you'll just see the performance drop, and it's pretty stark. So
what direction did we go with the Primal?
well, it kind of goes back to Wolfman, where we decided, we could slam these together, and what you get is, I guess, first understand what it means by being over optimized. The spacing between baffles is not very efficient, but by the time, and you may have like, I don't know, a pretty significant drop off, like 5 to 10%. But by the time you put them all together, you have room to put 2 or 3 more baffles in, and now suddenly you might have a 10 or 20% gain. So you end up with a net gain by doing that, and that's why you see a lot of these suppressors with a ton of baffles stacked together. Making sure that the notch is aligned is really important, because you're not just directing gas across the bore path to the next baffle, you're directing it across to the next 2 or 3 baffles. And it really causes a spike in back pressure, and it costs more to manufacture. The tone can change. So what we did on Wolfman is we really looked at where exactly is that precipitous fall off, and we're going to stop at that point. We're still going to make sure there's a proper amount of baffles in here to get the performance that we want, but we really focused on both baffle geometry, the clip, the spacing, all those key variables. And that's why the Wolfman really works as well as it does, because there's actually been a lot of testing to get it exactly where it is. And we took that and we scaled it and tested that out, and that became Primal, but with a bigger bore. And it's really hard to work with a big bore because gas just wants to freely move through. The good thing is you're guaranteed to have lower back pressure at that point.
Mm-hmm. So let's talk about the range then. You say big bore. How low can this go?
Yeah.
And how high can it go?
If you want to shoot some 22 through it, actually, we don't really recommend that.
Don't do that.
Because it builds up crud. I guess maybe we'll just talk about
the strengths. Like where does this shine? Like on the from low to high.
Yeah. So for me, this is a fantastic 9mm can. Like it really sounds good. I would still recommend Wolfman because the versatility of it. But you're going to go from that smaller caliber working with like either handgun all the way up to subgun. But really then you can get into the 45 caliber range, 10mm projectiles, 45. But it's going to take you all the way to 338 Lapua mag. So you can run it on rifle. You can run it really high pressure. And, we don't want you machine gunning it with 338 Lapua mag, but nobody really does that. So we have an expectation that the customers actually kind of understand their usage, which is always a dangerous thing. We understand.
Sure.
But
we're bringing it up now.
Yeah.
There you go.
There you go.
Now, I'd like to say this and I love the technical aspect that you have, and I'm of the utilitarian mindset. Once the bore gets so large, a little bit bigger bore has a much greater surface area. The amount of gas that can flow through that hole becomes exponentially larger as that area grows. I like to keep them in a little bit of a tighter range personally, and I don't want to oversell or have a customer expect more then it will deliver very well. I've seen cans of very large bore like this can get sold as a one size fits all and you don't need anything else. Look, I like a crescent wrench as much as the next guy, but I'm not throwing all my wrenches away because this one's SAE and metric and does every size.
Would you say this can, because of the map that it covers, would be like a good entry-level can?
Absolutely.
Like,
and
this is my first can. I can experience it on different calibers, ranging, casting a pretty wide net.
I don't want it to sound like, look, I want to make sure that we're not over-promising and under-delivering. To Todd's point, when we started to shoot it on 9mm, we were like, oh, that really sounds good on 9.
Yeah.
And it sounds good on any bottleneck cartridge that we've ever shot through it. 5.56, and it works very well over a very wide range.
When we took that out to, go ahead, sorry.
I was just going to say, but I wouldn't want to sell it to a person per se. I'm not sure how I don't want this to sound negative, but to be honest, and we want people to be happy in the end. Yes, to your point, it is a very good starting can, and you might want to put some specific bore size cans in to round out what you're trying to accomplish and suppress several different firearms.
Yeah.
You wouldn't use your elk hunting rifle to shoot prairie dogs with. Well, I do, but I'm special.
I was going to say.
I'm kind of weird.
I would too.
But
we do have other products that are really optimized,
specifically
focused,
geared towards very specific cartridges and bore size ranges.
Yeah.
Yep. So this is one of those where if you want to figure out, like, I want to do some rifle, but I also want to do some pistol.
Sure.
It could be good.
Yeah, I mean it's a little bigger and heavier than a Wolfman, but actually, you know what? I haven't put them side by side. It might actually be.
Let me feel it.
I'm trying to remember.
It's definitely heavier than the Wolfman.
Yeah.
Size-wise, it's around the same length, and the Wolfman's a little girthier.
But it's not modular. With the Wolfman, you can take off that front module, run it compact. It's actually really cool on a pistol.
I had a lot of fun shooting, or I did more watching of Mike shoot it, which is just as fun because there was no ear pro, especially on like some of the high caliber from the person standing next to Mike shooting, I was blown away by that. It was like really fun to watch that can go on these different platforms. And I'm like, really? We're going to put it on that? Yeah. And
it's a pretty wide range that it sounds pretty darn good on.
Yeah, like 450 Marlin, I was kind of surprised because I thought, oh, this is going to be horrible. This is going to be a bad experience. And it doesn't make it sound like it's, you know, a Nomad L on 6.5 Creedmoor, like crazy, weird, quiet. But you can shoot it. It's comfortable. It's not ear splitting to people standing around. It's completely usable, and that was really fun to do. And it also points to really good, one thing I really like about how we do testing here is we have sound numbers on this from, some really, the high-end B&K equipment, all that. But in the end, after we went through the configurations, what we did is we went out, we're on the side of road out in the middle of nowhere, shooting different locations.
That's a nice facility.
Yeah, it is.
Don't undersell it.
It's taxpayer paid
BLM,
BLM land, and being able to shoot. I mean, from customer service guys to marketing to engineering, we're all out there. We're all listening. We're all providing input, and we're trying to get a real life, like what is the customer experience, kind of a feel. A lot of people take it for granted that, I call it being a slave to the meter, where we had this problem at that other company where, all the product development happened in a lab pretty much. And I know there was still testing that was done outside, but really what was most important was the lab work, right? Like, got to get that sound meter at the left of the muzzle. And that's what's most important.
You did such a fantastic job. The final product of that can, I think, even if you're not entry level, right? Obviously, it pointed to that direction because I'm kind of entry level to the industry. You guys are like Jedi Masters, and I'm over here, Mr. Padawan, learning, And to watch that can go on the different platforms was exciting and fun for me because I had never seen a can do that. I'm just calling myself out here now because I've seen obviously we experienced all of our cans and the range that they shoot in, but that was just fun for me. So I don't know. I thought you did. The final product of this it's fantastic.
Cool. Thanks,
awesome.
I appreciate that.
Killed it. Yeah,
agreed.
Yeah, appreciate that.
Todd did clean it up on that.
This is my favorite can right now. I'm just gonna say
really
that. It was the Nomad TI. I really enjoyed how light it was. I love shooting it on the 308 Mauser. That one day at the range, I couldn't stop. I remember I was getting tired holding it, but I was like, one more, I got it, because it was fun to shoot. Especially with kind of a heavier rifle, shooting at 500 yards out with metallic sights. Like, that TI was light enough for me to handle it.
And you looked really good doing it.
Oh, say that, Mike.
Well, we all know what's most important.
Well, there, I said it.
That's to look good.
Well, to wrap it up, though, that is now my new favorite can.
Right on.
I love shooting it.
It's fun to be able to go from 45 handgun all the way to 338 Lapua mag and be able to... there's so many things you can do with it. So this was a real hard choice for us because way up front we resisted for a long time because we're very purpose-built, purpose-driven, and this finally was one of those we looked at and said, it's time. We do need to have something like this. This will be good for us.
Well, you have to toy with it and make a few, and I think we got to the point to where we were comfortable with what we had.
Yeah, like compared. Going back to the Wolf 9SD, we actually had a 45 caliber version of that, and this just completely kills it. So it's fun to go back and compare and look at that and see how
progression, right?
Yeah, see how the progression worked.
It's how we got from the tape cassette to that sweet compact disc.
Yeah,
and the zip drive.
Yeah.
The old zipper driver.
Yeah. Now, leading up to this, we've posted to this episode, right? Because this is going to air after we launch it. We've posted 3 teasers up to today. And it's gotten people scratching their head. We've used the word primal in each teaser. Let's talk a little more about this primal can.
All right.
Front caps.
Yeah, let's go through that. Right now, this one's in the white just because we didn't nitrite it. But The completed version obviously will have a nitride coat on that. It's our normal front cap socket, so threads in, stops on a taper, seals off the threads. You can remove it when you need to.
E-brakes.
Yeah, it'll take this one we technically don't have a Wolfman.
Oh, because we need
e-brake.
we need a whole bigger thread. But I'm just saying the threads are there for it.
Yeah, exactly. If you put on a Sandman e-brake, they're smaller diameter, so it'll stop on the front, won't stop on the taper. If you put a Nomad e-brake on it, I think that'll still work, but it'll be bigger. Might be great for keeping a cover on, so it doesn't slide off the front.
Allow 45 caliber projectiles to pass through the back aperture of the brake.
Correct. Yeah. So you have to be conscientious of that.
I guess what I'm saying is the groundwork is there for an e-brake.
Yeah.
We need to come out with one that will allow 45 cal projectiles to go through, but we'll get there. It's 1 3/8 threaded on the back.
Yep, 1 3/8 thread, so it'll take all of our current and other manufacturers.
Any kind of hub or industry standard, however you want to call it.
Yeah. If you're married to some of those other platforms, you can still use that. It's cool. And Xeno. So there's a lot of
we have three
options.
We have 3 rifle type mounts: direct thread, Xeno, and Keymo. And then it will also do booster, 3-lug.
Correct.
So
and it will ship
there's
with
a lot of mounting options there.
Yeah, it will come with an adapter for boosters. So if you want to, take the booster out of a Ghost, buy the SD 500 booster separately. Make sure you get the right piston. That, of course, will plug into this, make it into a pistol can. It is a tubeless design, so we shed that extra weight of having a tube. So this comes out, I think, lighter. I really haven't looked at the exact stats on everything across the board, but when it comes to 45 cans, this is and dual type suppressors. Like, obviously, it's going to be compared to the hybrid.
Let's call it do more.
Do more. I like that. Yeah. Okay. So it's going to do more than the dual cans that are out there. The hybrid is the main thing it's compared to. It's lighter than that, so that's a nice little advantage.
It's just if memory serves. Sorry, we've had so many different. It's a little shorter or a little longer.
We ended up about an 1/8 inch longer in the end,
Gotcha.
just because that version sounded so good.
It
we
did.
said, this is worth it.
That one extra baffle is
Yeah.
a big yes.
But it's still long anyway, right?
Yep.
So as long as it's lighter, win.
Yeah.
Well, it's an 1/8 inch
Yeah, that's
longer.
nothing.
Yeah, and it might even be less than that, but and it all depends then on what adapter you're putting on it. Like, we're talking just direct thread, right?
Well, you have a lot of control over weight and length by what you choose to put in the back.
Yep.
How many
As the
baffles is in
user.
there?
This is 12 baffles total, which is probably the most baffled can that we have at this point. I'm trying to think. What's the Ghost?
Salmon L. What's Salmon L?
10.
Rich looks baffled by that.
I'm baffled. Our listeners might be baffled too.
Yeah, this is has the highest baffle count in it.
Nice.
But it works well because the big bore, you pretty much have to fall back on that. And if we were to do a Nomad baffle in here, we could do less baffles, but just because it's more efficient. So, that type of baffle, a good example is the Nomad only has 7 baffles and it kills it. It sounds so good. Where other manufacturers are getting similar sound levels, but they might have 10 to 12 or 13 baffles.
But to your point, if that were chosen, then that would really shine on the very high pressure cartridges.
Yeah, yeah.
And you would lose a lot of ground on a lot of lower pressure, SOCOM-esque kind of 45 ACP stuff.
Yep. And that's where this one really does well. Like, some of the other cans out there that are competing for the same job, I just don't think they sound as good across the board
on the smaller stuff.
Yeah. From small to low pressure, like 300 Blackout with a couple that we tested really just didn't sound as good. I was pretty happy about that because I figured we were going to be right in line with everybody else. This is a really hard thing to push forward. Like, I'll be honest, like, the hybrid actually worked really well. I was pretty amazed by that.
No,
So
hybrid is a nice product.
Yeah.
It does a great amount of work, and
I'd only used it like maybe once ever, and I was like, well, that's okay. This is what it is. And as I got out and I began characterizing it across multiple platforms, it's pretty good. Like, honestly, if you have a hybrid right now, unless you need another, do more can, there's not a lot of reason to
Well, I
go
think
buy
a
this.
hybrid
I'll
is-
admit that.
I feel like, to me, I mean, we've never cut one up or really gotten all that into it, but the feel that I have for it is better on the things that it does when those things have higher pressure.
Yeah, that's good characterization.
I'm not sure if I said that correctly, but
It made sense to me, so it's got to make sense to everyone else.
I don't know.
I'm kind of like the Gauge, being next to you guys. I feel like the Chumley of the crew, right?
Don't
So
say
if it
that.
makes sense to me, there, it doesn't. The audience will get it.
You're more like, who's the old man that takes care of the house for Batman?
Alfred.
You're more like that than Chumley.
Oh, well, thank you.
Sorry, but he's kind of a couple steps above.
Yeah, that's actually a lot.
I don't
better.
think Alfred's ever been to a penitentiary.
Alfred's Batman's voice of reason.
This is what I'm saying.
Yeah. Well, thank you.
He's not just a person to make fun of all the time.
All right.
It's funny you say that too, because I do see, and I hate to admit it, I was just talking with another business owner who's an engineer, and we had this discussion. I was like, you got to admit, your product is amazing, but you need marketing. And like, without the marketing, you can have an incredible design. It doesn't matter a whole lot. Like, people aren't going to find out about it. It may never take off. So that's where I appreciate what you do, because you really do. Like, you can make sense of something that I've done, and you bring me back to where, hey, Todd, this is really incredible, but the market kind of needs to hear this and see this.
Well, we're listening to our audience. They have been requesting you. They have no idea that what they're going to get is some awesome, obviously breakdown of where you came from and who Todd is, but also the breakdown of this Primal can. So we're killing a couple birds with one stone here.
Right on.
Because our audience does need to get technical. The breakdown that you did on the Xeno wasn't necessarily for me, although I did learn a lot from it. But I don't. My brain doesn't get excited about some of those technical things, but I know a large portion of our audience does. So we're meeting that demand. Whereas the breakdown that Mike did on the Xeno, that's kind of more the pill I can swallow. The layman's term version of it.
We have a lot of very high-class technical people in our audience.
Yeah.
And then there's some people more like Rich and I.
And we're going to be doing more technical stuff, but we're going to do like a McGeeking Out series or something like that.
Yeah,
if I
we
remember
keep
right.
talking about that.
Yeah.
We're going to make that happen. I think it's going to
gonna-
become more easy once we get the new office building built.
It will.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And the idea is it'll be short, concise. Like, I'll be honest, I don't want to sit and talk to everybody about really, really nerdy details any more than probably a lot of people that are wanting to swallow it really want to sit and do that. So
Just give me the info.
yeah,
Yeah.
well, I want to pick out key things like, hey, this is the reason why we chose a thread where we did, and this is why it's important to you. I'm not a believer in you add a feature because it's cool. You add a feature because there's a benefit that goes with it.
Yeah.
Because the benefit is truly what sells the product.
Right.
People think they're buying a feature, like they're excited about, oh my word, this is all 17.4, it's fully welded. Well, what you're really buying is a really strong can that can handle very high pressures and ends up being lightweight.
Mm-hmm.
And that's truly what you get out of the material selection and the design effort.
Well, and from a marketing standpoint, it's important for our audience to know why we made the decisions that we made. We didn't just make them for the sake of it, right? There's so much thought and detail. This is version 5, right? This has been a process for you that is, the final product has brought. It's like finishing a Michelangelo painting.
Yeah.
There's a lot of different.
This one's tough though, because it's still if you just cut it in half, you'd be like, well, it's a can with some cones in it, but there are super subtle details down to the thousandths of an inch that make things work. And that's the part that, unless you have the goggles on to see it,
Right.
sometimes people don't appreciate that. And that's a tough thing to deal with.
What do you think your biggest challenge was with this can?
Really dealing with the big bore that goes through it. And
I like big bores, and I cannot lie.
Well, someone's going to comment, that's a new T-shirt, and it would be genius. I'm sorry.
You're welcome.
I like big bores, and I cannot lie. I'm sorry. That's awesome.
so
It just came to me.
Yeah.
I love it. Yeah, so I think that was the key thing. Doing that and keeping a baffle structure that kept it light. So
Those are those challenges, huh?
yeah.
It's awesome. Well, you've overcome those challenges because that can is sweet.
Cool, thanks.
Yeah.
When can we have Todd on again? A
When
little
do you wanna-
McGeeking, then maybe like next week. You want to do 2 in a row with Todd?
Let's ask the audience. Get excited about this can. Obviously, it's already released since this video has been produced, so it's kind of hard to play that game, huh? But, we hear you. There's other cans that are in the works. Todd is working very hard, around the clock,
I work in my sleep.
getting hounded by all of us.
Luckily, I have more help now, which is nice, actually.
Yeah.
We've got that sweet Mike Smith to lean on.
Yeah, Mike Smith's doing a ton. He does a lot of heavy lifting.
I'd like
And
to say this.
He's
Mike
designing
Smith's
some of
awesome.
his own stuff too. He's got a can that we just tasked him dude, go do it. So expect some cool stuff from Mike. And then a lot of the stuff that's showing up now is stuff that was in the pipeline. And so we're releasing the hounds with Mike Smith more and more. And then and even on the administrative side, having a product manager for the company, having marketing that's, working with us on all this stuff. We've ramped up. I feel like we're much more of a legitimate company, where before it was a couple of us just doing everything we could to keep up. So,
Which I felt was pretty legitimate.
yeah, it was cool.
A lot of hats were worn.
Well, you can't do
Yeah.
that now. You need more people.
Yep.
There's not enough time in the day.
Let's do this. Let's do a follow-up video. Doesn't necessarily have to be an episode to this podcast episode about the Primal can. We've got Todd here. He's gone through some awesome details about this can. I know everyone listening has questions, so you can submit your questions through the comment section on our YouTube platform. You can DM us. You can email us. We're going to capture all those questions, and maybe we'll do a follow-up video where we can go over all of those questions about this can.
Yeah, that'd be fun.
Yeah, I think that would be. What do you think, Mike?
I'm totally into it. I want to get some action shots of Todd to mix into our B-roll,
Ooh, yeah.
as you call it.
B-roll.
B-roll.
I like big bores, and I cannot lie.
There you have it.
New T-shirt in the pipeline.
You just said it. Okay, that was awesome.
That was awesome.
Thanks
Cool.
again
Thanks,
for
guys.
coming on and taking the time to drive all the way out into the wilderness.
Yeah, no, it's worth it. It's always worth it.
High altitude. I think it's time for lunch.
Good idea.
Okay, have a great rest of the week, and
Thanks, everyone.
We'll see you next week.
Okay, see you guys.
Thanks for listening. Don't forget to like, subscribe, share with all your home slicers.